Welcome to the AACFB's 2024 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I'll be your host. Our presenters today are Stuart Werba and Robert James from Gulf Coast Business Credit. I want to thank Gulf Coast Business Credit for being both a funding source member and a gold sponsor of the AACFB, and I want to thank them for their support of the association. Before I introduce Stuart and Robert, I'd like to go over a few things to make the webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box and they will be answered by the end of the webinar. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes, and please reserve communication between attendees for the chat box. For those of you who'd like to review this webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2024 AACFB Meet the Funder page on our website, and it will be emailed out to the membership. At this time, we'll turn it over to Stuart and Robert. It is all yours.
Hello, everybody. This is Robert James with Gulf Coast Business Credit. We appreciate everybody taking time to hop on the webinar with us today, and hopefully you get something out of it. I know there may be a lot of questions. So you can, hit the chat box. We can talk about those at the end, or if it's something urgent, we can answer it on the spot. So just let us know. We also have Stu Werba on. Stu, you there?
I am. Hello, I'm Stuart Werba. I'm with Gulf Coast. I think this is my, or our, I should say, fourth year, Rob, of doing this webinar. Third year, fourth year?
That is correct.
Yep. So we're here to answer any questions. Might have spoken with some of you already in the past. Might have worked with some of you already in the past, and we will turn it over again to Rob.
Okay, so the basic theme of today is over and over and over again, and we'll get into that a little bit more later in the webinar. But that's really why everybody's with us today, is the over and over again. Just a little bit of an agenda of what we'll be talking about today. We'll give you a little information about Gulf Coast Business Credit, our history of how we got started, some of the solutions that we offer, and the type of industries that we serve, which you're going to see it's pretty extensive list. We pretty much work with every industry, but we can go over any particular ones if you have any discussion on that. And the over and over again, the residual income on how you guys and gals can make money month over month with just one deal. The broker playbook, just a few tips and things like that to maybe help close a little bit or a few more deals. The benefits of using Gulf Coast Business Credit. And then, of course, our contact information if there's any deals that you would like to discuss or have questions. So next screen, about GCBC. We're a factoring and asset-based lending division of Gulf Coast Bank and Trust. We are one of the top working capital and AR finance providers in the country. I believe we're top 5, so we're well known across the country and then pretty much in all the industries. We've been in the factoring business over 20 years, so there shows you some good tenure that we've done. As you can see, we work with a lot of clients that only continues to grow. Since we do work with a lot of different industries. So, and as you can see, we're in the 48 states, and then we have been a gold sponsor of AACFB for the last few years, as well as an exhibitor. So we probably talked to a lot of you at the conferences over the last few years. So next slide.
And I'm going to add something to that, Rob. If you can, someone go back? If you look at the very top there, it says Gulf Coast Business Credit is a factoring and asset-based lending division of Gulf Coast Bank and Trust. I think it's important to note that we also own several other factoring and asset-based lending companies around the country. And I know that I have spoken with several brokers that have dealt with some of our, quote, sister companies, which would be like AmeriFactors or Phoenix Capital Group or Spectrum, Seven Oaks Capital. So, if you've got relationships with them, you're still falling underneath the umbrella of Gulf Coast Bank and Trust. But if you've got a relationship with Rob or myself and you have a deal that does not fit into our bucket, does not fit into our bucket, We do have alternatives and we do have other options where Rob and I would go ahead and we would farm that out for you, but it would still fall underneath the Gulf Coast Business Credit or the Gulf Coast Bank and Trust umbrella.
And added on to that, and just know that you are going to get the referral fee regardless. We like it to come through us, even though we do, maybe put it to one of our other companies, because we do track everything in Salesforce and your name will be attached to it. And payment to you most likely comes from our office at Gulf Coast Business Credit. So we just like to track it and make sure, it's in the system correctly. So you do get credit. So.
Right. And it also gives you as the broker a single point of contact. And Rob and I've been here 15 years. Rob's been here 12, I want to say, or 11. We know what kind of fits in our specific box and we know what our other companies can offer you. So instead of you kind of piecemealing it or trying to find, this one does government contracts or this is a construction deal and so on and so forth. If you don't have an existing relationship with one of those companies, I would highly recommend you just stick with Rob and myself and allow us to source it internally. And as Rob said, we'd be the single point of contact and you'd still receive the commission as you would if you sent it into them direct. But we're looking to build a relationship with you guys.
Okay, next slide, please. And just a little bit of history on Gulf Coast Business Credit and how we got to this day. Was originally founded as American Savings Bank back in 1883. In 1990, our current CEO, Guy Williams, took over American Savings. As you can see, we are $3 billion in assets. We're the largest community bank in Louisiana. And we were founded basically over, since 2000, we've been doing factoring deals. So been in the industry for a long time in the factoring world. Next page, please. And this one here just gives you a couple of things of what we do. Obviously, we're on the call because we mainly focus on account receivable factoring. It's no, as you can read it there, it's no secret. Cash flow is everything to small business owners. They need cash flow for payroll, working capital, possibly bidding on bigger jobs. And a lot of clients, especially in the trucking world, call us because they need money for insurance. So accounts receivable factoring, otherwise known as AR finance, AR factoring, in a nutshell, most clients don't want to wait for their debtors to pay them in 60 or 90 days. And believe it or not, that happens most in factoring, even though they may have a contract that says you will get paid net 30. We all know that typically does not happen. And that's where invoice factoring comes in. When I talk to clients, they know it's not rocket science. You have a job, you have the completed job, you have the signed off paperwork showing job is complete. You turn that into us, we fund you right away. So you're not waiting 60, 90 days to be paid from your debtor, your client. So
yeah, and I'm going to springboard off of that, Rob, because you use the term cash flow. For the brokers out there, Rob and I want to be very, very, very clear. We are not an MCA lender. And I know that in the MCA space, they like to throw around cash flow loans or, he's looking for a cash flow or a line of credit. We do not do anything that would even be remotely considered an MCA. We're not going to lend in second, third, or fourth position. We're not going to sweep accounts daily, weekly, monthly. And more importantly, we're not going to charge. And we're not going to stack them and so on and so forth. Accounts receivable, cash flow factoring is a special type of niche financing, and much different than the MCA space. And Rob, if you want to add something to that, but I just want to be very, very clear because we do the shows and we get phone calls where they've got 7 MCAs in place, or they think that they can come in and leverage the previous 6 months of bank statements to get $200,000. That is not us, and that is not our space.
Yeah. And we do get a lot of MCA referrals. So, possibly if the client has, one MCA, for example, for $100,000, and they may be invoicing for the regular work, $300,000 or $400,000, we could use their first funding to pay off that MCA for $100,000. and then possibly get them factoring. But, you know, we're going to need that MCA cleared up before they get to us for sure. Or, you know, like Stu said, we get some with 6 and 7 of them, and that's just too much to overcome. So we're not able to help, you know, help folks like that. But our asset-based lending division, as you can see, we go anywhere from 500,000 to 7 million on asset-based. Let me go back to accounts receivable. I factor accounts receivable deals that may be factoring $10,000 a month. So a lot of our trucking clients, you know, they're one truck deals, and all they're doing is maybe 15 to 20 grand. I don't turn those people, you know, I don't turn them down. We're able to help them out still and continue to give them a low rate. So I just wanted to go back to the AR finance portion. But as you can see, we do a lot of other asset-based lending types. We can, you know, inventory, equipment, and real estate. If we're looking at a deal like that, we still want to kind of base it on the receivables. We still want to have those receivables in-house to kind of leverage that. As Stu said, we have, you know, other companies that strictly focus on inventory and equipment. We can get that done, but we'd like to see them with at least some accounts receivable behind them. Our credit facilities, we typically don't have any financial covenants. When you deal with a lot of your clients, they may have a line of credit with their current bank. Their bank will have those financial covenants. They're going to want to make sure, you know, they're hitting their financial benchmarks and things like that. Where factoring, we really don't look at that, to be honest with you. So that's always a benefit to using one of our asset-based lending programs. And we're able to grow with our clients. Some clients, and Stu, you've been here. You've had, I remember you saying the other day, you had one that started with 20 grand. He's up to 800,000. So as you can see, we grow with the client and vice versa. We're able to help them. We do it in-house. We make the decisions in-house if we have to up their credit facilities. So that's a good thing of factoring with Gulf Coast.
Yeah, and Rob, to go to your point and to go to the growth, again, I don't want to make this solely about MCAs, but in the factoring space, you guys are obviously brokers. You're in this for the commissions. You're in this to make money. Out of the gate, you look at that $10,000 deal and you might only be getting $12 a month in a commission. In our space, it's a residual and it pays for the life of the deal. So if you can sprinkle in 1-2 deals a month that are not the home runs of the MCAs where you're getting paid 7 points, 5 points, whatever it may be, and we fund the deal, and I don't want to say forget about it, but just forget about it, you're going to receive a residual check every single month. And when you have those accounts, like I said, I've been here 15 years. I have accounts that have been with me for 12, and I've had a broker that I've been paying for 12 years straight. They're not even, I have one broker that passed away and I'm paying his wife now. It's residual income that you're leaving a lot of money on the table because you're not looking at it as a home run. You've got to look at it as incremental income on top of those home run deals that you're getting. And Rob?
Okay, and the last one there, we typically don't have a lot of fees. When we sign up brand new clients, unless it's a huge deal, we won't ask for, you know, any upfront fees or closing costs. And just because we put somebody, you know, basically on just I'll use this for an example. If we have somebody set up on $1 million line of credit and they only factor 600,000 that month or 300,000, we don't charge them anything on the difference. A lot of other factoring companies will do that. You know, they'll make them factor a certain amount of money because that's how they, you know, that's how they make their money. Whereas we are a bank, we have the money. So keep that in mind. Next page, please. And this thing, ledgered lines of credit, it's basically just another approach to financing or AR factoring. We deal with a lot of clients, you know, that come on board with us, and it's some of the paperwork is a nightmare, to be honest with you. You know, they got literally thousands of pages of paper, and we need to see that sometimes in order to factor. So if it gets to be too much, we kind of just put them on a borrowing base. And then they just send a list of invoices and the total amounts and so forth to factor. So they're not, you know, sending us 10 emails with tons of paperwork. The partners that are industry partners, as you can see, We do equipment finance, purchase order financing, and you can throw in their inventory as well. So I know a lot of you run across inventory pieces and so forth. Keep that in mind, and we can help you with that as well. Next, please. The industries that we serve, Stu and I actually do a lot of the transportation, whether they're carriers who have their own trucks or they are brokerage companies. There's a lot out there. So if you're factoring on transportation, a lot of those guys, to be honest with you, mostly all of them know what invoice factoring is. All the truckers do factor, but temporary staffing, nursing, warehouse, temporary staffing, oil and gas. We have a bunch of our salespeople, BDOs, in the shale plays across the country. So we're big in oil and gas. And as you can see, service providers, manufacturers, distributors, government contractors, as Stu hit on earlier, wholesale, and technology. So we hit a range of different industries. Next, please. And here it is. Here's what Stu was talking about. Stu, do you want to hit on the residual income on the over and over and over again?
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying before, is that oftentimes, or I should say over the past, let's say since COVID, a lot of commercial brokers are focusing on that MCA space. And I want to be clear, Rob and I don't dislike or hate MCAs. In fact, we've got friends that own MCA companies. But that's where you're going to hit your home run. And a lot of the brokers were spoiled, and they'll sit there and go, oh, a $200,000 deal, I can get paid $26,000. Well, that's great. You can. But while you're doing that, you should also look for the residual income pieces, which are the companies that aren't going to pay the MCA rates and fees, but they would go ahead and look at a factoring facility, which again, you're not going to get 26 grand when it funds, but you'll be able to go ahead and get a residual monthly income based upon how much they factor and what the fees are. And I mean, just as an example, if you've got a company doing $1 million a month, their fees could be $20,000, which in turn, you're going to get $2,000 a month for as long as they're with us. Now, no pun intended, if you factor in other deals that just enable it to continue to grow, you could be getting $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month in residual income while you're still doing other stuff, while you're still looking at SBA loans, while you're still looking at MCA loans. And that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with your organization, is because it's important that you guys understand there's money on the table. And from our standpoint, we can work with a name and a number. We can work with an entire package. The bottom line is once they're signed up in factoring, they're typically 18. I think our average, Rob, is 4 years. But I mean, you're 18 to 24 months of them either becoming bankable, going out of business, or just stopping factoring. But 24 months is 24 checks. So, Rob, go ahead. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can, yeah.
Okay. And just keep in mind, as you said, $2,000 a month, our brokers and referral partners can make. Our average deal does stick with us for years, 4 years. And when they're with us, they become bankable. They're looking for other products as well. So we have a lot of people that come on board with us factoring, but they're buying a $400,000 piece of equipment, where we're able to pay you on that because you referred the deal to us. So it's just not all factoring referral money you're getting. We have an SBA division, so keep that in mind as well as you're running across SBA deals. We're a preferred SBA provider as well, so keep that in mind. And the relationship, the name of the game. We want to work with our referral and broker partners and have a good relationship. We want to get as many deals done as possible for you all. So hopefully we can do that. We know a lot of deals have been shopped over and over again. That's no secret. That's going to happen. But if we can get a look at them first, it'll be beneficial because we do have all the different options for them. different products since we are a bank. Next, please. And the important things of what we look for, obviously, the quality of accounts, receivables. We want good accounts. We want good debtors. That's the name of the game. We want to make sure we get paid back. The paper trail, sometimes we get paperwork, we can't even read it. So we just need to make sure, obviously, we can see what it says, how much the invoices are, make sure it's signed off on and that sort of thing. First lien position on accounts receivable. If we do factor anybody, obviously we need first place lien position on them under accounts receivable. We get a lot of, bank referrals and so forth. Our clients call us and they want to factor, but then they have a line of credit with their current bank. So that kind of puts a damper on it unless their bank is willing to work with us and give us first place lien on the whole thing or a few debtors just to help their clients out. Less important is the earnings and cash flows, cash flow, financial ratios. And that's what I was getting at. If they do have a line of credit with their bank, this is what their bank's looking at right here, where we really don't look at this if they're factoring with us. So keep that in mind. The factoring clients that we avoid, take construction off that list. We've been doing a lot more and more construction. We can get those deals done. So add that to your list. But medical billing, insurance, a lot of Medicare, Medicaid, we don't factor that. That's sometimes out 150 days and we just don't touch that type of factoring client. So, and progress billing. So progress billing, they may work for, the city and the city pays them after they do 10% of the road or whatever. We don't really factor progress billing. And then our pricing, as you can see there, anywhere from 80 to 100%. If it's a trucking deal, we will fund 100% full advance, no question asked. We do it nonstop. Typical fees that we're going to charge based on the size of the deal, 0.5 point to 2%. We do a lot of trucking deals and 2% flat rate we can get them done as a one truck startup deal. So keep that in mind. Next, please.
Oh, and I want to go back to one other thing on that page, and I apologize. The less important column, we do not care about bank statements. So getting our application and sending in 6 months of bank statements, 4 months of bank statements, we may ask for them if they don't have, decent financials, but we will never lead with send us bank statements and send us an application. The most important is going to be an AR aging report, as well as our application completed. So, and I'm only saying that because I deal with a lot of brokers that they'll send our package in and they'll have bank statements and our application. We can't do anything with that because we're not looking at what's running through the bank account. We're looking at really who they're doing business with.
Next page, please. And just a few things, the benefits of using GCBC, which just stands for Gulf Coast Business Credit. Obviously, when you work with us and you have clients that factor with us, we try to make pretty much quick approvals. We do everything in-house, so we can get a lot of the things turned around quick. Our underwriters there, we make calls on credit facilities right there on the spot, or if they need, higher limits, we can do that. It doesn't take us days to get approval on this. So it really helps the client out. Our fees and our rates really are typically 50% lower than other companies. And the reason for that, we are bank owned. We do huge volume. We're well known. We use our own money to fund. So we have the money to factor. We're putting it on the streets and we're able to give these clients a low rate and they stay with us longer. A lot of the other factoring companies go in, hit them 3 to 5%, and then they're just looking for another factoring company, a few months down the road. So once they're on board with us, we start them at a low rate, and it's just really helpful. Obviously, we're a bank, so we're under a little more scrutiny than some of the factoring companies, but that's good. A lot of clients love working with a bank. Since we are bank owned, obviously we have to follow rules. We do things the right way, and we take care of our clients. As far as our contract terms, it ranges anywhere from 90 days to 12 months. The 90-day thing there, that is more or less for truckers and the transportation industry. If they get into oil field, staffing companies, manufacturing, it's typically a 12-month contract that they're under. And then if they're ready to leave, they just give us 30, 60-day notice and they're able to leave at that point. And this is a big one. Our pricing is calculated from the funding date. Many other factoring companies out there will charge from the invoice date. So what that means is, or let me just break it down this way. A lot of clients will try to hold an invoice for 2 or 3 weeks because they think it's going to pay within 30 days. But here's the thing. The other factoring companies, and some of them are charging from invoice date anyway, where we don't. So they don't have to hold that with us. We'll factor it, and we start the day we factor it. That's when the term and the rate really starts. Allows the customer to finance as needed. We don't have any monthly minimums. If we have a client on just say a $500,000 credit facility for factoring, and they're doing, if they're invoicing $300,000-400,000 grand a month, they can factor $400,000 a month if they want. If they want to do $100,000 that month, they can. We don't hold them hostage and make them do the whole $500,000. As I was saying, we do work with other banks. Now, if we can't get that bank to release the lien on the client, some of the banks will work with us and they'll either carve out a couple of specific debtors. So just say you have a client that has a line of credit that really needs more working capital, right? And we go to try to factor them. Well, their bank's not going to release the lien to us. They're just not. But if it's a smaller bank, and some bigger banks do it as well, maybe if you talk to the banker, they'll be cool enough and say, look, let us carve out a couple of debtors for you. That'll help you out. You can factor those 2 or 3 debtors. Gulf Coast can get first place lien on those debtors, and it'll put some working capital in your hands. So we do that a lot. So, if they do have a line of credit, what I'm saying is don't turn it down. Let Stu or I talk to them first, and then we can see what we can do. And as you can see, credit reviews on the spot. I have I had one this morning, said, Rob, can you check a debtor? They're growing. They wanted us to check debtor credit and history to make sure, obviously, that debtor is factorable before they take on a bigger job. So we're able to do that on the spot. It takes us 5 minutes, and we do that all the time. So next page. And there you go. If anybody needs to call us or get a hold of us, I know Stu and I, we work on the weekends. Sales are sales, right? People need money. These clients want money. They don't want to wait. We're ready for them. So if you have anything at night, on the weekends, more than willing to talk to them and try to help them. Obviously, it's sales and it's speed to the sale. So the quicker we get the deal, obviously it's, the better for us to hopefully help them out. So there's our contact information. I think, Monica, you were going to hold the Q&A till now. If anybody has any questions, if not, there we are. You know where to find us. Give us a holler. We'd love to work with all of you and hopefully put some residual.
Yeah, and just so you know, out of those 3 pictures, the best looking one on there is not Rob or I. Meg is our actual national sales manager. So we're very transparent in the fact that if there's ever an issue and you can't reach Rob or myself, or there's a question about a deal, that's why we put Meg onto this presentation. So, like I said, she's been here 16 years, and Rob and I both report to her.
All right, so as you mentioned, we'll take questions. If you have a question, just type that in the Q&A box and we'll get that answered. We'll give it just a minute or two to see if we have any questions. And if not, we'll wrap things up for today.
And again, if you don't have a question now and something comes up here in an hour or two, give us a holler, shoot us an email. We're always available. Just let us know what you got.
Okay. And this is available later. So if you want to watch this again, it is available if you have any questions after the fact. So I'm not seeing any questions, so we will wrap it up. And I want to say a big thanks to all our participants, especially our valued funding source member and gold sponsor, Gulf Coast Business Credit. Thanks for a great job. And we invite everyone to meet with Gulf Coast Business Credit at our upcoming Commercial Financing Expo coming up this September in New Orleans, September 4th and 5th. And thanks again. Have a great day.
Oh, looks like we do have one question, sir.
Are you doing business in Canada?
Rob.
I'm here. What's the question?
Are you doing business in Canada?
Not at this time, no. Now, we will look at it if the invoice is paid from the United States. We'll take a look at the deal. I don't know who answered that, but just give me a call afterwards and we can talk about that.
All right, great. Well, with that, we will wrap things up. I appreciate everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.